Hi there. So in this video, I'm going to cover how to set up a cold email account with Google domain, Google email, as well and Lemlist. So this is the technical setup part that I'm going to cover today, which would include DKIM setup, DMARC setup, SPF setup, custom tracking domain setup, and overall audit of the domain to check if it is working properly and if it is warming up properly or not. So let's jump onto it. So at first we have this email warm up form by Michael. So here we have these are important information. This is the name of the person. That's his account information is here. There are two domains here, so let's pick up one of them, which is Sean at mktg-incentives.com. So what we need to do here is we need to open a separate browser for this email. Just like we have our own browser, we would have a separate browser from here. So we click it and add a browser from here. I have already done this. So this is his browser. This is Sean's browser. And then we have a temporary password. So when we enter this email address to Gmail and this temporary password, this would allow us to set a new password that we prefer. This is the temporary one. We'll have a new one for this account. So once we have that, what's in there? So we are going into his account, and the first thing that we would check is the admin section. I'm coming how we can get there. So first of all, once we enter the account with a new set of password, the first thing that we need to do is go to this link. I have this cheat sheet that I'm going to share. These are very important while we are setting it up. So once we are in the domain DNS register section of Google, we need to go and check the DNS section, okay, and check if everything is working properly or not. So usually these things are handled by Google domain itself, but we still need to check if this is running properly or not. So once we are here, first thing we need to check is if this account is an admin account or not. How do we know that? We click this 9 dot, and if this icon appears admin, that means it's an admin account. We would click it. So once we are in the admin account, we would type DKIM and see DKIM authentication. Sometimes it doesn't appear right away after opening the account, so we might have to wait 48 to 72 hours uh, to fully activate domain authentication section, which is DKIM section. Once we are here, this account is fully set up, so we have everything done right here. But I just wanted to walk you through each and every pieces here, so that when you are trying to set up an account on your own, you can do it yourself. So once we are here, there is a key generated by Google. This is the domain authentication key. This key is going to be locked with your domain, and this key is going to communicate while we are sending out emails. So how do we check if this domain was really connected to our domain section? So we go to DNS section, then we come right to Google Workspace section under synthetic record here. So when we click this, we would see a bunch of record. These are very important. These are pre-loaded by Google, but for other domain registrar like GoDaddy and everything, we need to set this up manually. But for Google, this is already set it up because the mail exchange, this MX is already coming from Google, because this is a Google Workspace account or a G Suite account. So once we're here, we would see that it's a domain key already provided here by Google, but we just need to be sure if this was auto-generated or manually done. So we would check the last few digits here, IDAQAB, which is IDAQAB here, and the SPF record and the MX record are set. So we would straight jump into DMARC setup. For the DMARC setup, we have to come to custom resource record here. Under the @ section, we would type DMARC. For example, let me edit this and see. Under the name section, we would put DMARC, and it's a text record, so we would select text from here. TTL is 5 minute. For other register, it could be 1 hour or so. And then we have the data. Like I've said to you, I have a cheat sheet where I have all the information plugged here. So you would simply select from this part. So DMARC is already selected from the DNS. Text record was selected, 5M was selected. Now we have to just copy this part, vdmarc1 p equals to none, ru mail to this, copy this and just paste it here. And instead of Michael's email, michael@michaelg.com, we would put this admin account email here, sean@mktg-incentives.com, which is this one. And then we would save it and make sure we are refreshing it. If we are not refreshing it, it's not going to propagate. So once this is saved, we would move to setting up Lemlist with your domain. So for Lemlist, we would click trail under the @ section. Then we would select CNAME from here. It's a CNAME record. And then here we would put 10800, which is equivalent to 3 hours. And under the data section, we would put custom.lemlist.com, which is also on my cheat sheet here. This part. And then we would save and refresh it. So that's pretty much it with your DNS setup. Now we have to go to Lemlist and check if everything is working right or not. So we will log into the account, and the first thing that we would check is this part, if this custom tracking domain was set. So for that, we would select settings. From settings section, we would go to custom tracking domain and simply put this information. This is the domain. Anything after @ is the domain, and Sean at the, we would not consider this as the part of the domain, but mktg-incentive.com is the domain name. We would select this and just put it here, and then click yes, and it would automatically generate this, connect this with your domain. If it doesn't, then we have to wait for 48 to 72 hours. Even if that doesn't work, then we need to communicate with Lemlist chat section if this was fully propagated or not. But this is the usual setting with Gmail and Lemlist and Google. It doesn't create too much confusion. It's usually it is taken immediately by Lemlist, and once your custom tracking domain is set, we can go to the Lemworm section. So under the Lemworm section, this is a brand new email. So we would select number here we would select number of warm-up email per day after ramp up. Okay, Lemlist recommends it to be 40, and the ramp up increment value per day should be 3. What I mean by this is, after the ramping up or after the warming up, we'd be able to send out 40 emails smoothly, because over the period of time, 40 emails would be exchanged through this account safely within this warming up feature. And once the warm up is completed, we would be able to send out 40 emails per day at least to start with. Okay, and this shouldn't cause any problem because we already are sending out 40 emails. That's what this section means. So we would put this value 40 and 3. What I mean by ramp up value 3 is, on the first day it would start with something like 1, and then the second day it would go to 3, then 6, then 9, and it would gradually increase from here until 40. Okay, and once it hits 40, it would keep generating at least 40 warm-up emails every day. And if you come to this section, this is also this is not only sending out emails but also replying to emails. Okay, this is preset by Lemlist. Some servers, some warming up feature actually uh, yeah, gives you the privilege to add this. Usually that is 30% of what we receive as reply, but for Lemlist this is automated. So, and we love Lemlist for so many reasons like this. And this is the warm up and setting up part. You know how to set up an account. If you come to the billing section, this is already set up. For the warming up section, we would start with their warm up package, which is $29. Once the warm up is completed, we need to shift our account to email outreach campaign, which is $59. And you put all the information here, and then your account will be activated, and you can start running campaigns. So I wanted to show you another very important thing, which is we have done the setup. Now who would validate this? Okay, there are two major ways of validating if our setup is was done properly or not. So once this setup is done, wait for 10, 15 to half an hour, and check the results. Okay, how do we check it? So from my cheat sheet, I have this link, toolbox Google. Just paste it here, and then put your domain name here. What's the domain name? mkt-incentive.com. Sorry about the noise, background noise. It happens in my part of the world more often. Sorry about that. So we would put the domain name here, just the domain name, okay, to check if it was done properly or not. So when we run check it, of course this was done properly. If it doesn't, then it would show you. Anyways, this is a wrong information. Okay, I have just checked it. This is the second time I'm shooting this video. Yeah, some toolbox. This is again, this is not the right information. And I know, even if we are doing everything right, I mean good to see that this is coming up. Because this would add another learning here. If this isn't giving you the right information, sometimes it doesn't, like at this point. So you could see MX tool must fit in UDP response. Just ignore them, because we have done everything right here. How do we check that? How do we know that if this setup was done properly or not? To do that, we need to literally send out an email that would tell us the story, that would give us all the right information. Because with this tool, we can check what wasn't done properly. But if it was done properly, it would definitely reflect through our emails. So I would send out a test email to info@leadlister.net, which is my account, and type it here, test email by Julius. We need to check if DMARC, DKIM, everything was set up properly or not. We already covered the Lemlist part. With Lemlist, this is what we need to do. I'm just reviewing. These are the four things we need to cover here. Custom tracking domain, it's working fine. Okay. Now the DKIM, DMARC, this DKI text record DMARC, DKIM needs to be set up properly. So okay. So this was sent to my account. Yeah, 11:52. So let me check my if my account is, sorry about that. Okay, here. Okay, we got the email. Now we would see from the email, we would click these three dots, and then click show original. Okay. So regardless of whatever report we were getting, it really doesn't matter what carries with the email, because these are the authentication email that we are doing with the with while we are trying to set it up. So you could see with Google, SPF passed with the IP name, DKIM passed with domain mktg-incentive.com, DMARC pass. Once these three things are passed, doesn't matter if this is giving you the right results or not, because this is what everyone would see. Okay, and this is what the servers would see and allow your email to land on inbox. So these are very important things here. So in this tutorial I have covered how to set up the domain section of G Suite. I'm just trying to recap here. The domain section here, where we have checked the DKIM record, the SPF record was already set, the DMARC record, and the custom tracking domain from the Google domain section. Then we have checked the Lemlist part, which is here, if this custom tracking domain is integrated with Google or not. This was done properly. We have also um, learn how to do the warm up and what numbers it needs to go in to start warming up. Oh, another important thing, if during your warm up, if your emails are landing on spam, like if it is anything over 5%, you need to immediately stop your warm up session and wait for 1 or 2 days and then restart and see if it is still landing on inbox or not during the warm up. And every day we check this and we keep this open to see where our emails are landing, because this is one of the ways to check if our emails are landing on the inbox or not. Just to keep that in mind. And during the advanced setup, we would check the IP, we would check spam, we would do other spam testing and everything. But this is pretty much what it covers. After the Lemlist is done, we would do this auditing with the Google toolbox, and then we would literally check, send out an email to check if this was done properly or not. If it Sometimes it takes 24 to 48 hours to fully propagate this information, so we have to wait for it. If we are doing things right, it should be completed within 48 to 72 hours. If it doesn't, then feel free to reach out to Lemlist support from here and check with them. But usually with Google Lemlist, it integrates really well. It usually gets integrated within a day period of time. That's what happened with me. That's why we always recommend Google plus Lemlist for running cold email accounts. I hope this video was helpful, and on my next video I'm going to cover spam testing and IP testing, and also some of the ways we can increase deliverability of our email, and that what needs to be checked every single day with an account, so that we are performing at a optimum level. Thank you so much.